Welcome to Powerless to Powerful with Angela Bennett, a show that brings a sassy mix of transformative advice on health, relationships, love, career, and mindset shifting, together with some fun and laughter. Powerless to Powerful with Angela Bennett begins now. Welcome to Powerless to Powerful with my guest, Brad Romaniszyn, and we are talking about men's topics that need to be discussed but are a little uncomfortable at times. So get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So, Brad, what's our topic today?
I thought we'd talk about social media this week. Sometimes it's described as a necessary evil. Obviously a lot of things we do, even what we're doing now, and the irony isn't lost on me that we're actually doing a podcast on social media and talking about social media. So that's not been lost on me. But we rely on it for so much, and we can spend a lot of time on it. But there are some pros and cons and some issues, and hopefully we'll unpack those a bit today.
I'm super excited because, like we were just discussing, there's pros and cons to everything, right? And this is necessary.
Yeah.
And so it's awesome that we have a platform like this where we can discuss these things, and then obviously there are some not so great things. So shall we dive in?
Yeah, for sure.
So how has social media affected men's mental health in recent years?
Well, I think it's affected everyone's mental health, but we're talking about men mostly. There's definitely links to increased anxiety and depression, and I think we touched on it a bit last week or the week before, talking about inadequacy, like not measuring up to what a male is, what is masculine in our society. It was Brene Brown said, comparison is the thief of joy. Yeah. And that really resonated with me when I heard that first time I read that book. And it's true. Like, you could be really, really content in yourself, and then you start comparing yourself to someone else and going, your self-esteem can go up and down really, really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a great way to be. But definitely can have some negative impacts. And I should stress that it's, anything in excess is not good for you. Like, too much cheese is not good for you. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
And so there are definitely things that we can enjoy, but if we did it all day, every day, it would not be good for us. So I think social media is definitely one of those things.
Yeah, because we get that high from the scrolling, right? And I mean, even how much our focus, our length and ability of focus has decreased.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. What were you saying? I'm joking.
That was good. That was quick.
One of my sons told me it was, they call it dopamine mining. And so it's like you're just scrolling through until you find something that gives you that hit of dopamine, makes you laugh or something.
Yeah. And I love what you said, and I don't think it was Brene Brown's quote initially that comparison is a thief of all joy. I could be wrong, but I don't think it was hers initially. But I think the only time we could really compare ourselves is if we've had the same upbringing, the same finances, the same education, the same, just like, you just can't do it. There is no way to compare. Like, I can't compare myself to you because you've been through different stuff to me.
Absolutely.
How can I possibly compare?
Yeah. And like a lot of people say, you're a product of your environment, and other people say it's that whole nature nurture debate. But your DNA, as well as your upbringing, your environment, so many different things can happen as you're growing up and developing. And comparison is just not good.
Thief of all joy. Okay, so are men more or less likely to experience negative mental health outcomes from social media use compared to women?
I think it's roughly the same.
Okay.
I think women can be just as prone to comparison, particularly with all the, the Instagram models.
Did I just roll my eyes publicly?
I think you did. I saw a funny joke about that from I used to go to the gym with a bit, and when you see a profile that says this person's a model, and then that you realise it's an Instagram model, he's like, oh yeah, I'm in the military. Yeah, he plays COD, Call of Duty. So it's the same sort of thing. It's like it's pretend, it's online, it's not real.
Yeah.
But obviously, some people can make a living from that. And I just thought it was funny.
It is funny, and not to mention, you never know what's even real these days. Everything is so airbrushed, and everything, we only put on Facebook what we want, or social media, what we want people to see.
Yeah.
So even though your life's falling apart, you've got this incredible photo, I don't know, on the beach or some luxury resort, and your little bikini, if you can call them that these days. But yeah, your life's falling apart. But that's what we portray is for people to see just that. And then they wonder what's wrong with their life because it doesn't look like that. Like, it's just so fake.
Yeah, and in some cases it's not even filtered or fake. It's just the highlights. Like last Friday, took an amazing photo of the sunrise. But as you can probably still hear in my voice, I wasn't feeling fantastic. I'm sort of getting over this head cold. Doesn't mean the sunrise wasn't gorgeous. It was really good. I still.
Did you post your lunch as well?
I didn't. No, I'm not a big food. Yeah, I don't post pictures of food very often. But the cheesecake I made yesterday was pretty amazing. Should have put a picture of that. That was worth a picture because my first ever cheesecake. Okay, but I guess I think the men are more susceptible in some ways.
Right.
Like we talked a lot about toxic masculinity last week, and that can really be reinforced by social media. So this is what you should look like. This is what you should wear. This is what you should drive. All that sort of stuff. Things like, I think cyberbullying affects males and females pretty much the same.
Yeah. Even in the adult years? Or is this more for the younger kids?
I think it's more for younger people. Yeah. But, it's not, I don't know, it's just horrible that someone can say something they wouldn't say to your face on social media.
Keyboard warriors.
And it's there.
Keyboard warriors.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the stats are the same as far as, like we're talking about dopamine mining, the scrolling, and that becoming an addiction. Like, I don't think people think of, I think they didn't used to think of social media and things like that as an addiction.
Yep.
But it, it definitely is. Anything that can take you away from what, the things that, you want to have as your priorities, like your family, your work, your study. If you're doing this instead of that, if it's impacting those important things, it's basically an addiction.
I actually saw, on my phone, it comes up saying, your weekly amount of time spent on your screen has decreased or increased from last week. And I love it when it goes, it's increased by 20%. It's like, yes.
Increased when you're using your phone more.
Decreased.
Decreased. That's,
Yeah, it's amazing.
And I've even with, because everything is online as far as businesses and promoting your business, promoting a friend's business.
Exactly.
So I've got to get on. I've got to be present. I've got to have a social media presence and all that sort of stuff. And it's, it's not great. it's
not great at all.
It's really hard thing to sort of detox from, because you think, okay, I've got to post a certain amount of things to stay relevant and be seen.
Yep. And I know when I was going through rehab, replacing the addiction, the alcohol addiction, with social media was a thing for some of us.
Yeah.
And so that was always brought to our attention. So it depended on what you were replacing that addiction with.
Yeah. And I think it's the same for anything. Like, you can often tell when people are giving up smoking because they put on weight. They're putting something else in their mouth instead of a cigarette.
Exactly. I just wanted to check that out. Do you have anything else to say on that?
No. I think that's...
So what are some specific mental health challenges that men face as a result of social media use?
I think body image is a big one these days. I don't know that it was as... I mean, you're always going to go through that stage as an adolescent where you go from a boy to being a man. But I think with social media, like, there is that comparison.
Yeah.
There's so much comparison. And...
what's in our face 24/7.
Yeah. But I don't remember... Like, I remember like my soccer team, and that was pretty much the first 7 or 8 years of my adolescence, and then afterwards as well. I don't remember thinking that much about, who looked like they'd just been to the gym or anything like that. Like, I just think we were all just blokes playing soccer together, and it was about what we did on the field, not about how we looked or anything like that. Obviously, if you're going to a blue light disco, you want to impress someone, but your best Rip Curl t-shirt, but
So do you think it's changed?
I think it has. I think there's
expectation of what we should look like.
Well, in 2000, when I was in Japan, I thought it was a bit unusual because over there you would see on transport, you see men, plucking their eyebrows or shaping their eyebrows and things like that.
Japan?
Yeah, on trains you just see guys grooming and fixing their hair, whereas I think when I was growing up, it was like you're supposed to pretend at least you didn't care about that sort of stuff. Maybe, get rid of the monobrow when no one was looking. But they were just like a woman would open up, what was those things with a mirror in them called a compact?
Yeah.
Yeah. And get the tweezers out or whatever on a train. And that was sort of normal there. And it's becoming a little bit more like that here. And like guys openly talking about, going to the gym before they go to a nightclub.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Get that blood pumping through the veins.
And a lot more
through the muscles.
Well, it used to be like there's a whole aisle of things for women's, and it still is, for hair and eyebrows. And
now they've got that for me as well.
The places you want hair and the places you don't want hair. And I don't know, stuff that smells really nice and changes colours of things, all that sort of makeup and everything is there. There's massive aisle in any shop you go to. But I think the section for guys is getting a bit bigger because now you can go and get these, I don't know, oils for your beards and facial scrubs.
I have a very nice beard oil, actually. Not for my beard. Not for my beard, but I do have a very nice.
I can't see it in this light, but yeah, okay.
I use it for shaving my legs. I know. It doesn't
beard
make sense.
oil
yes.
to shave your legs.
It's beautiful.
Okay.
Apparently it's nice on the beard too. I gave it to a friend.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's still a lot more stuff for women, but there was more stuff than there was for men when I was growing up. There was like, Brill Cream and Brute 33 and Old Spice and maybe Norska. It was like this wide, but now it's getting wider. There's more products out there, more places you can go and get skin treatments for men. A good friend of mine works at one out at Woonona. Cave X, that's Daniel.
Cave X. Daniel's a guy who works there doing things. Oh, wow. Yeah. I love that. Oh, so Cave X, so it's just for men. Cave X.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's why they've got the cave for something. Yeah. Cave bit. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
And yeah, you can go there and get skin treatments. I haven't yet.
KVX in Woonona.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he'll give you a freebie
now that I've plugged him on social media. Yeah, hopefully he does. But
Wow.
yeah, and I think I think it's good that men are looking after themselves. But when it gets to the point where you get sort of, you should do this and you have to do this and you have to have that, yeah, it's a bit of pressure you don't need. We're going on a bit of a tangent then.
We did, but that's okay. It was a good one. I like it. So can social media contribute to feelings of social isolation and loneliness in men? This is a really big, this is a big deal. I think it's a big deal.
Well, it's not exactly social media, but I'll look back about 3 years ago, and that was one of the first EAPs I did, was with a company down in Victoria.
What's an EAP?
Employee Assistance Program. So it's where your employer has paid for you to access counselling.
Oh, okay.
To look after your mental health.
Amazing.
Yeah,
yes.
A really, really good thing to do. And one of the first ones I did was this company down in Victoria, and they were in hard lockdown. So even if my office was in Victoria, they wouldn't have been able to come to my office. So either way, it was going to be over Zoom. And so in that sense, social media can be something that helped keep people connected in that time. Yeah. You can't physically go and see a counsellor. You can do it over social media. You can't physically go and see your grandchildren or someone else that you want to see. You can FaceTime them.
Yeah,
it's not all bad, but we'll look at the light just moved all by itself. Look at the last weekend. We had 100 people down here at South Beach, smiling, talking, hugging. There's no substitute for that. But a lot of people.
Do you want to explain what that was about?
It was Talk to Me, Bro. The T-shirt Ange is wearing.
Talk to Me, Bro. So that's suicide
prevention. The T-shirt Dr. Bennett's wearing. Sorry.
A suicide prevention, right?
Yeah, and it is a brilliant community, and
it is a brilliant community.
We were just talking before this about how it really sets up some really, really helpful conversations and check-ins and things like that for people that might be isolated otherwise.
Because we are the most connected, yet we're the most disconnected at the moment, because we're connected through our phones and through Zoom, but physically we're not really going for coffee. We're not picking up the phone and having a telephone conversation. It's just a text message. There's no real human interaction anymore. So that Saturday, that was amazing. And I got to hang out, as I discussed with you, got to hang out afterwards and had coffee with 3 of the guys and had a really amazing chat and just built these new connections.
Yeah. And that's...
guys that I'm old enough to be their mum, but it was just, it's a real honour.
You can always have more than one mum. Yeah,
that's right.
That's good. Well, most of the guys there, I'm old enough to be their dad. Yeah,
it's true. And I love that there's younger guys. There's your age group, my age group, and then there's the younger guys doing this as well. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, it can be a really good way that you can keep in contact. So you can send a message and check in and say, how you doing, to someone who's you're not able to go and see for whatever reason. But it's not the same as getting together with friends and family. And I'm a bit of a hugger, so that means a lot to me to be able to, like, I could not do well in a house by myself with no human contact. No matter how much social media I had, it would not work.
Welcome to my life right now. Thanks. So when I get to give you a hug, I don't let go very quickly.
We're here at least once a week, every second Friday for the girls.
Yeah. So every other Friday is just women. It's beautiful.
It is. Well, I've heard it is because you're
not there.
Allowed in.
And then every Friday for all the men.
Yeah.
Every Friday, 6 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
for all the men. Every other Friday for women, 6 a.m. And then once a month or once a fortnight?
The next guys and girls catch up for Talk to Me Bro is the 27th.
Of
next month,
of
May.
May. So it's once a month at 7:30.
Yep.
Okay. We can put that in the chat. We should do that, actually. We'll do that. We'll put that in the chat. Okay. So how do social media platforms address issues related to mental health and well-being?
Yeah. Again, it can be helpful. Like a lot of the EAP stuff that I do, the employee assistance programs that I do, a lot of people do some of that stuff via an app. So there are apps that help you do mindfulness activities. There are apps that help you, practice daily meditation. There are apps that help you just educate yourself about what improves your mental health. But again, there's no substitute for face-to-face. There's some really good stuff out there. One of the guys from Talk to Bro, Benny, he's...
I don't know if I've met him yet.
Yeah, he's been working on an app. Doing that again. He's been doing an app the last 12 months, I think, called Mindsight, and it's focused on, because there's there are a lot of mental health issues with guys who work underground.
Of course.
And I imagine, I'd probably be terrified if I was working underground, to be honest, but I won't tell anyone that because it's embarrassing. But his app Mindsight is really geared towards helping people in that. And so it's targeted for blokes, mostly blokes who work underground.
So it's released?
Yeah, I'll have to have a look.
What's it called?
Mindsight. I'll have to double check the spelling.
Okay.
Because I think it might be like it's a play on words a little bit. I think it's MINED rather than MIND.
Okay.
Yeah. And sight.
Oh, that's clever.
SITE as opposed to SIGHT. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll have a look at that and we can put that in the.
We can definitely tag Benny there.
Definitely.
But yeah, it's great. Like you can do all kinds of things. There are good apps to have on your phone if you've been thinking about suicide. You can actually have your plan on your phone, not the plan to take your life, but the plan to, okay, what will I do? What are my safety factors? Who should I call? So if we do some work with someone and that's geared towards suicide prevention, in the heat of the moment, you might not think very clearly. You might think, okay, what did I say I was going to do if I felt like this again? And you go, okay, that's right. There are people I can call. There's Ange, there's Brad, there's whoever, Jack, Benny.
Wow, that's amazing.
And you've got that prompt on your phone, that app. You go, okay, just one click away, and you've got a safety plan there.
Yeah, wow.
Which is really good. So it's not all bad.
Yeah.
And when I was working at Headspace, we would do that with young people because they've always got their phones with them.
Yeah, right, of course.
And there you go. There's your safety plan for next time you're feeling like that. Yeah. And usually in that, it's got obviously things you can do to help look after yourself.
That's so good.
Yeah.
I love that. So are there any particular demographics of men who may be more susceptible to negative mental health outcomes from social media use?
I think one of the worst things about that question is it's probably the exact same age group that is the highest rate of suicide.
Which is?
Men between 15 and 45.
That's a big age group.
Yeah. And that's, an age group that can be online a lot. And teenagers have almost sort of been, if they've been at school in the last 3 years, they've almost been herded into that space because you can't actually go uni face-to-face. You can't actually go to high school face-to-face. Some of your work's going to be work from home. So it's almost like they're being groomed to function online.
Far out, I hadn't even thought about that.
And I've seen a lot of anxiety and I don't think it's new. I think 3 years ago, before COVID, people were coping.
Yeah.
They had better coping mechanisms to deal with their anxiety because it's a social thing.
Yeah.
But then you give them 6, 12, 18 months where they don't have to practice those skills to get over their anxiety, or to work with their anxiety, I guess, not get over it, because it doesn't leave you. But yeah, I was like, okay, well, I'm anxious, I'm going to school, but I do it every day.
Yeah.
I do it 40 weeks a year, 5 days a week. You get a big chunk of time off, bigger than the school holidays. And all of a sudden, I've forgotten how to do this. I'm not coping well. So we would see a lot of anxiety at the school with people who weren't quite sure how to get back into that.
Yeah, right.
Because if you think about you're anxious, or you're a person who's prone to anxiety, you're an introvert, and you've just been given this massive break where you don't have to deal with all of that.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you're back in the deep end 5 days a week.
Yeah.
They're barely coping with the anxiety, let alone trying to learn anything face to face again.
Yeah, exactly.
It's tricky, because I think a lot of people miss the social interaction, but then they also, their capacity for social interaction might have diminished over that big break. And so it's hard to get back to school or uni or work.
It is, and it happened to a lot of us, not just the teenagers going back to school and uni, but it happened to all of us, like a lot of us.
Yeah.
Even if we didn't suffer from anxiety, just being around people again. Like, I know for me, when there's too many people, I'm out.
Yeah.
See you later. Yeah. Too many people for me.
If you're an extrovert, you probably don't know what we're talking about, because you get energized from being around people, you get recharged.
Yeah.
But if you're anywhere near the other end of the scale, as far as introvert, extrovert, it's like, oh damn, that's hard. I don't want to do that. I need a time out again.
All right. So how can men navigate social media in a way that supports their mental well-being?
I think it's like anything. Put limits on it, and ask yourself those questions. Is it affecting my relationships? Am I scrolling when I should be present to the people I'm actually with? I've sat down for a coffee or a meal with people, and they're actually looking at Facebook or Instagram, and
you kind of feel like getting up and walking away and seeing if they'll notice. Well, I don't know about you, but I do. Like, if that's more important, don't worry, I'll go, because my time's important.
Yeah, I've actually said to people, I'll come back when you're not busy, and
stick that flag to my forehead.
Sometimes they don't realise what they're doing, because it is just it's like people talk about when they're smokers, they've put a smoke in their mouth and lit it without actually being conscious of the fact they're doing it. It's autopilot. And so if you're so used to scrolling through social media, you might not even realize you're doing it around other people. So that's a good thing. I love seeing people that put their phone away when they're having a meal with someone. I've seen restaurants where you put your phone in a cage until you've finished the meal. I think that's pretty cute.
The first one to pick up their phone gets to pay the bill.
Yeah, that'd be good. So I think the boundaries around that. Does it impact your relationship? Is it impacting your work? Like, if you're supposed to be working for someone, it's not okay that you're on social media unless that's your job.
No, it's not okay.
Yeah. And I think just people being okay with, like, if you can't take a break from something, that's when I'd say it's a concern. If you I can't go an hour or a day without logging in and looking at what's online, there's probably something going on. You're probably stressed. You're probably anxious.
Yeah.
But that's numbing. That's just, I'm going to do this to avoid that. At best, it's procrastinating. At worst, it is an addiction.
Yeah.
I know people, if you need to turn off social media, people need to be okay with you not being an online presence for a time. And
yeah.
I think we should need to normalize that and just say, I'm taking a break. And I've seen people do it. I'm taking a detox from social media.
Yeah.
I think it's great that people can do that. But sometimes I feel like there's a lot of pressure to get back on there.
That's really an interesting point, actually, because we've become such an instant society, like a microwave society, a microwave. Oh, you knew what that was. Yeah. We've become such a microwave society. So if I send you a text message and then you see those 3 little dots coming up and it's like, oh, wait, why hasn't she responded within 3 minutes?
Yeah.
Like, people start getting a bit, you then start creating this story of, oh, she doesn't like me. Did I say something to offend? It's like, dude, I might not respond to you until tomorrow, but it's all good. But we're so used to everything right now. And I know that I do it too, because as soon as I think of something, I'm like on Google going, oh, where is that? How does that work? What is that?
Yeah.
And where do I buy it?
I had a client didn't respond to a message last night, and that's okay.
I think you sent me a message last week. I only responded to this morning.
I sent another one. Yeah.
I'm a shocker.
But I think, just being okay with taking a break. Like if you were drinking and you couldn't go a day or a week, or if you felt like you couldn't stop drinking, that's one of the warning signs. If you can't do without social media and you haven't got a legitimate reason to be on there posting stuff for work, it's a bit of a sign, I think.
Yeah, wow. Can social media use contribute to feelings of anxiety or depression in men?
I think we've sort of covered that a lot, but I think, it's definitely, it makes you want to post something cool or say something relevant. And we're more than the last thing we posted on social media. We actually matter whether we're present on social media or not. But a lot of people sort of joke, if you didn't post that last run you did or that last weight session you did at the gym, if you didn't post that on social media, did it really happen? It's sort of, it's weird.
I actually like it when people say, oh no, I don't have a social media account. I'm like, yes.
So cool.
That's so cool. And then other people have the opposite. They're like, well, why? What's wrong with him? Anyway.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's interesting. You have to have that. Yeah.
Perception. So how can men know when their social media use has become problematic and is negatively impacting their mental health?
I guess if they become more isolated, if their mood changes, again, if their relationships are suffering, they might not put 2 and 2 together and go, oh, that's because last time we had dinner I spent the whole time on my phone. Or if you're ditching, a social gathering and hanging out online instead.
That's pretty dramatic.
Yeah, it's like, it's that, and only people know what their capacity is. Like, I'm not going to tell everyone they need to be extroverted and go to every single event and be out there all the time. I might have done that 30 years ago, but I wouldn't do that these days.
But even if it's impacting your sleep, so if you're spending, if you go to bed and you're taking your phone and you're scrolling in bed, and then next thing you look at the phone and it's like midnight and you've been on your phone for the last hour or so, and that blue light stimulation also affects your sleep as well. So it kind of just sneaks in, it sneaks up on you, and you don't even realize it's happening until.
And if you think about the basic questions you ask when you're trying to find out what's going on with someone's mental health or their physical health for that matter, you talk about diet, exercise, and sleep first, let alone whatever else is going on. And I'm online till 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. It's probably not going to improve your life.
Probably not.
No.
Probably not.
That sounds horrible to me.
Yeah, me too. I'm like,
that would be like I've had a coffee too late in the afternoon, and now I'm suffering because I can't get to sleep. But yeah, it's for some people that's every day, and that would worry me.
Well, that makes me think about two things. Number one, is it affecting your intimacy in your bedroom time with your partner? Number two, if you are alone and that's why you're doing it, maybe there's something healthier that you could use to, like, for example, reading a book in bed when you're by yourself, rather than finishing the day with such a dopamine hit.
Yeah, like with both my kids, I've sort of encouraged them not to be online, but to actually read a book. And my wife's got a Kindle which doesn't have the same sort of blue light thing, so she'll read that most nights if she wants to, and she doesn't read very long before she falls asleep. Takes her forever to read a book that way. But it's I think it's if I was by myself and reading, that'd be much healthier than like just scrolling through mindless stuff. Because you actually, when you read, it's usually purposeful.
Yeah, that's right.
And so it's like comparing a decent meal to junk food. And I think a lot of social media is junk food. And reading a book because you want to learn about a person, or if you want to get some new skills or better understanding of something, so much better to read an actual book than to just do the junk food thing on social media.
Yeah. Well, what we allow in through our eyes, through our ears, that's what's going to come out, right? That's what's filling us up. It's what's filling our mind. It's what's filling our heart. So that's what's going to come out. Yeah. So, are there any potential benefits of social media for men's mental health, such as access to online support, communities, or mental health resources?
Like we said before, there are some good resources there. There are some good ways to connect with people, to have discussions with like-minded people. Like, I think in the past, if you were into Warhammer, you'd have that's little figurines and you set them up for battles and stuff like that.
Okay.
It's a thing. Yeah. Superman does it. Yes. But sorry, the actor who plays Superman.
The what?
The actor, yeah.
The what?
The actor who plays Superman does Warhammer figurines.
Not Christopher Reeves.
Oh my gosh, how old are you?
I'm legit Superman.
Yeah. I like it. Henry Cavill.
Oh, I've never even heard of him.
You never.
Moving on.
Yeah. Anyhow, but
sorry.
If you were doing that, and say there was no one else at your school or university or workplace that did that, you can connect online through things like I think Reddit. I don't know much about it, but and that way you can have a community. Okay, there might not be a club in my street or my suburb or my town or whatever, but I can actually connect with those people who have the same interests, and so we'll be talking about this thing we have in common. I probably picked a really bad one saying Warhammer to you.
It doesn't matter. It's fine. This is about men. It's not about me.
So
I'll get it.
I have to look it up anyhow and show you Henry Cavill Warhammer. Yeah. So that's a creative outlet. That's the way that they're expressing themselves. Imagine if they were just sitting at home by themselves doing Warhammer and no one ever saw it. They never learned from anyone else. They never talked. Like, there was just nothing. But this way they can actually get online with other like-minded people. And you've got friends in the States and you don't see them very often.
I have friends all over the globe, actually, in all different countries, including Trinidad.
Mm-hmm. But you don't see them face-to-face very often.
Unfortunately, no. Most of them I haven't even met.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have those friends if it wasn't for social media.
That's right.
So there are some real positives there. I've got a client, this is a random example, but I've got a client who lives in another state, and it's really good that we meet over Zoom, because they've had some really crappy interactions with males. And so it's a safe way for them to have a positive male relationship where nothing that's gone wrong in the past can happen again, because they're not physically in the same room as them.
Yeah, amazing.
And so it's almost like a form of exposure therapy in a subtle way, because they're safe.
Yeah.
But they're doing something they would be problematic if they were face to face.
Yeah.
And as a lot of, I know, a lot of good stuff. But if people are honest with themselves and they realize, hey, this is impacting me, this is impacting my relationships, my study, my work. And there've been times when I've lost 30 minutes to an hour scrolling, and it's easy to do.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that was funny. That was interesting. I'm avoiding that assignment. It's and just a new way to procrastinate for me.
Yeah.
And so, okay, that feedback every week you were talking about, where it tells you how much time you spend on social media or how much time you spend on your phone.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah.
Screen time.
I want to reduce that.
Yeah.
My phone tells me I've been on the phone a lot in the car. And I'm like, pardon? But I think it's actually counting Spotify and Audible and then phone calls.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not texting or anything like that. But
you would never do such a thing.
No, pull over. But yeah, so there are definitely some positives there. Definitely some things you wouldn't be able to do without it. Some friends, connections you wouldn't be able to contact much without it.
Yeah,
it'd be a long distance phone call back in the day.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And even my podcast, I have a radio station that is on an American radio station that my podcast airs on. So even
do they need subtitles? Can they understand us? Or?
I was like, what? Oh, it's radio. They don't have subtitles on radio. I don't know how that works. Anyway, that's complicated. But
I'm sure they might not be able to understand us.
Sometimes they can't. Often
have to speak more clearly.
Apparently.
Yes.
But yeah, there are it's like everything, like we said in the beginning, there's pros and cons, and everything in moderation. Most things in moderation are okay.
Yeah, but if
too much of anything,
and I guess if gambling is a concern for you, the best thing is to not gamble.
Yeah.
If drinking is a concern to you, the best thing is to not drink at all.
Yeah.
So that, it might be really tricky for some people to say, I'm going to get rid of social media if that has become an addiction.
It is tricky. It's like coffee. I love coffee, and I actually made myself go a whole week without coffee. It was really hard. First time I tried it, I failed. Second time, I was okay. I made it, but it's really hard.
Yeah, I've only had 2 today.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But it's just making that commitment to yourself and sticking to it, right? Because if we're not going to be a person of our word to ourselves, then where does that reflect in every other area of our life as well? So committing to yourself and to the commitment that you've made and the words that you've spoken, or I'm only going to do social media an hour a day, and committing to that And following through with that, I think that's really important, because if you can honour your words that you speak over yourself, then you're not betraying yourself and dishonouring yourself as well.
Yeah. I mean, I like accountability sometimes. I like when I'm meeting someone else at the gym or if I'm walking with someone else. But yeah, I'm finding as I become more, I guess, used to it, it's part of my routine now. Like, I did weights by myself today, and fine. I will, continue to do that, because it's, and one of the things I've discovered, like, there's goals and there's like targets and all that sort of stuff. One of the things I've loved working with in the last couple of years is values. Is that towards my values or is that away from my values?
There's a topic that we need to discuss. That's major.
Yeah. So I value health, physical fitness, skipping the gym or going to the gym. I can make that decision anytime and go, that's towards my values. That's something I want to do. And like last week, I probably had 4 days where I didn't do weights at all.
Yeah, but you weren't well.
Because I was not well. But that's still in line with my values, because that was the sensible thing to do for my health and fitness.
Yeah, nurturing yourself.
So that instead of saying, well, if I'd said to myself, I'm going to go to the gym 5 times a week, last week would have been a fail.
Well, yeah.
If I said my values are health and fitness and strength, the best thing I can do to speed up my recovery is to not go to the gym that day. So it's a win, because I've chosen something that's aligned with my values, even though it's a different choice this week to what it was last week.
I love that. So good.
Values-based living. Yeah.
It's so good. It's so important, because that affects everything we do. And even helps us align with people that we socialize with, because if our values are out of alignment, there's no point. I mean, it's okay to have people with differing values, but you've just got to not compromise yours with other people around you, I think. And values is a big topic. A topic that I love, actually. I think it's really important, because it's not something that we really discuss.
Yeah, but I think if you look at, so if you're trying to hone it down to say, these are my 6 or 7 core values, and then you look at your social media usage through that lens, it's like, I probably need to do that less.
Yeah. So, for example, if family and health are at the top of your value list, your 2 tops, but you're spending 3 hours on social media when you could be spending time with your family. So you're out of alignment, or exercising. So you're out of alignment. It's not going to leave you feeling very good.
No.
It's not going to be really productive.
But every time you put the phone down is a towards move, if that is your values.
If that's your values, yep. Awesome. Well, is there anything else that you want to leave us with as we wrap up?
No, I did not think this conversation would end with you talking about values, but
How did I?
I think that's a good way to determine the best thing for you to do.
I think so too. I think it was actually perfect. Please feel free to reach out. There's no judgment. There's nothing to be ashamed of or embarrassed about. And just remember that asking for help is not because you're weak. It's so you can remain strong and change your life. If you feel like you need to make a change, it starts, or if you feel like then there's change needed in your life, it starts with you, right? Start working it. It's always the hardest, but it's the best.
Yeah, for sure.
So well, thank you for tuning in today. Please like and share with your friends and tag anyone who might need to hear this, and have a great day. And we shall see you next week.
Sure.
Follow Angela on Facebook and LinkedIn at Angela Bennett, on Instagram at AngieB_transformations, or visit angieb.com.au. And remember, your past does not define you, it refines you.